Hi, I'm Gavin.
And I'm Ryan.
And welcome back to the S.O.U.N.D Project. All right, so today is a little bit different episode than we've done in the past, but there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. And just recently, we got the news that we were nominated for a TEC Award, which in the industry is a really prominent award that's given out at the NAMM show. There's a banquet, and there's a category for studio design project.
Yep.
And we've been a finalist one time before, but this is the second time that we've been a finalist. And this beautiful studio that we're showing on the screen right now is Chip Freeman's S.O.U.N.D studio, which is up in northern Michigan. And just so happy that it became a finalist in this process, and for everybody involved with the project, Vintage King and his buddy Jason Carson, who helped with all the gear integration, and then just for Chip alone. It's we're very, very excited for this. I do want to say that there is open voting for this, and so we would absolutely love it if you would go to this website. We'll put it in the description as well, and give us a vote for this, and in hopes to try to win this thing, because it'd be really special to do so. Mostly for Chip, though. I'm just so excited for him. It's been a dream of his to have a studio like this, and it would be really fun. Regardless, we're just honored to be nominated, and there's some great studios that are in this category with us, and all the other products that have been designed over the last year that are nominated. It'll be fun to attend the banquet in January.
And there's only been, I think it's only like 5 that were nominated.
5 or 6. I think there's maybe 6, but there's not a lot there. Yeah. But we would really appreciate your vote. It would help us out a lot. And so with that nomination, we decided it'd be kind of fun to have our own awards show. Yeah. And so we came up with just some random categories that really don't mean a whole lot, but they're interesting to be able to tell you about some of these different projects. So if we go to here's the official awards show. You can tell I spent lots of time on the graphic design of this by slapping our logo on there and just calling it the first annual Haverstick Designs S.O.U.N.D Project Awards Show.
My cousin, who's an English teacher, is totally going to comment and be like, it shouldn't say first annual. It should be inaugural.
Oh, that's true. That's
silly.
Okay. I wish I could edit in real time and change it to inaugural. But so we came up with this awards show. And I just came up with some different categories here. The first one, which makes sense, is the first project that Haverstick Designs ever did.
Yeah.
So do you know this
one?
one?
I was going to say, I didn't even know about this one, honestly.
Yeah. So I started the business in September of 2009. And pretty shortly after that, I got a call from Farmington High School, which is in just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
And they have a performing arts center there, and it was constructed, but really no acoustical treatment to speak of. Sure. And so it made it really difficult for them to be able to perform in there, and for speech to be understood. But then also they have, as you can see in this picture, a really large orchestra that performs in that space as well. And so it's also the very first on-site that I did with my own company. So it was like a big deal to get a project from Minneapolis, which it's kind of funny sitting in front of these maps now, getting a project just like 2 states away. That was like, what in the world? Like, I can't believe that we get to do this. It was just me at the time. I was just so excited to go up there, and we did some acoustical testing, and I came up with some recommendations. But that was the very first project that we booked.
That's really cool. I literally never knew about that.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought to ask. That's neat. Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to look back at that. The next one here that we'll look at is the most challenging geometry of any project that we've ever worked on, and this actually wasn't very difficult to come up with, because of course there's a lot of different geometrical shapes that are involved in projects that we get that we get to be a part of, but this one stood out more than the rest. And what it is the St. Louis Abbey in St. Louis, Missouri. I mean, It's wild, right? It's just a bizarre building. It's actually something that many architects come and tour this space, and
I can imagine.
And it's kind of like a destination spot. These are some pictures of the outside of the building, and there's also really amazing the construction of it. Like for its time, I think it was built in the 60s or 70s, but it's all like kind of like concrete forms that were built out of wood and to create this shape. And
that's like very modern looking for being in the 60s or so. Like I would have never guessed that was when that was built.
And the inside of it here is all those curvature, like the concave surfaces. It just goes around the entire building, and it's a circle, which acoustically is challenging, but it also is a dome. And then also within that dome, the dome is made up of a bunch of concave surfaces. So I have a video actually that I took inside of this room where I do my click sound, the sound that I do. And it, reverb times, 4 or 5 seconds in there. Like it's really, really long. Challenging project. And in fact, the thing that we didn't want to do was really alter the way the room looks at all. Because it's such a iconic space that people like to come and tour. So obviously just hanging a bunch of panels in there, putting some banners up isn't going to do the trick. And so I've been working with the AV integrator and then also the Abbey and people involved with the project to try to do things that are going to be disguised as best we can. And we only are at phase 1 of the project, which was let's add some pads on the pews. Like let's add some cushion seating around the space and help to add some absorption that way. Because the other thing, the space is used for, there's a big organ. You can see that in the picture there on the back. Choirs come in here to perform. It's like you don't want to ruin that for anybody.
Right.
And so we started slow by just adding some pads on the pews. Other ways that we could add control is to do some acoustical plaster. So it's a material that looks like drywall or plaster, but it actually has absorptive qualities. And so you could follow that curvature and make those surfaces absorptive instead of reflective. But we'll just start with some pads first and see where it goes.
It'll be interesting, to see how this one ends up. It'll be neat.
Yeah, eventually we'll go back and do some final testing and be able to compare with what we originally took when it was untreated. All right, the next one here in our awards show. I should have envelopes. I didn't prepare enough, to actually open up envelopes, but
we'll do it next time. We'll bring the tuxes out next time.
Yeah, on the second annual. All right, so the longest reverberation time for any project. And that's a tough one to pick because some spaces, since reverberation time is frequency dependent, sometimes you could have a longer, higher frequency reverb or mid frequencies or low frequencies. I went for the low frequency reverb time, and I may have mentioned this on a podcast before, but there's this project called Christ Fellowship in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And it's a precast concrete building, concrete floors with thin carpet and a steel ceiling. And the low end reverb time in that room was 6.5 seconds. So at 125 hertz, if you lit up that room with 125 hertz, a full 6.5 seconds would have to die out. Which,
sheesh.
I mean, that's a long time. I was thinking about just pausing for 6.5 seconds and how awkward that would be.
Yeah.
It's a little long, right? And so it's just a really boomy room because of the precast concrete. It doesn't flex with the low frequencies like drywall would. I actually modeled this space to see what it would be if it was drywall instead of concrete, and it would have been 1.4 seconds.
Wow.
Which is much less awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I mean, we can handle that. But yeah, the 6.5 seconds, longest reverb time in the low end of any project that we've worked on. All right, the next one here, actually, there's another view of that room. We were able to tame that space by using barrel diffusers on the walls, which have really great absorption in that frequency range that we were struggling with, and then also using some perforated panels that absorb low frequencies better, doesn't kill off the high frequencies so much, because with the carpet and padded chairs in there, we didn't want to make it sound really muffled and wanted to bring some balance back to the room. So we were able to make it happen. In fact, the Acoustics rig that's in there, the guys from Acoustics said it was the best sounding room they'd been in, which is awesome. All right, next one here is the largest mix room.
Yeah.
And I kind of cheated a little bit with the answer to this one because it's kind of a all-in-one room where they do mixing in there, but they also perform in there. But just as far as like cubic volume for a space where someone is mixing, it's Brooklyn Duo Studio.
Yeah.
In Washington State, and I love this room. It's really just a beautiful space, and the dimensions of it is, I believe it's around 34 feet long, 21 feet wide, and about 14 feet tall. Wow. So just a lot of volume in that space, and we set it up as kind of half of the room is recording like a mix centric, and then the back half is all for performance. But it's all done with like really clean lines, stretch fabric systems that were installed by Simplified Acoustics, and it was actually this room was the inspiration for it was Crowder's studio that we did, and they really loved the white clean look, and so yeah, that's the largest mix room.
Yeah.
So.
And we did a studio tour this past year, right?
Yeah. We'll link that in the description. It's just an awesome space for them to be able to create. They have a YouTube channel that they do modern covers on piano and cello, and it's just it's special to be able to see that pop up on YouTube and like, oh, that's the room. You know, they record everything in the space now. So if we go from the largest mixed room. We also have to say the largest live room.
Yep.
And the largest live room actually is at Mid-South Audio, which is in Delaware. And so I like how it's one of the smallest states, but it has one of the largest live rooms.
Yep.
One of the things I love about this live room is obviously the ceiling height is awesome. You know, going from 16 feet, I think it slopes down to maybe 13 feet on the other side. But it's really wide. Like they've set up, full bands in here, sometimes 8 to 10 people in a band, and they can all fit in there comfortably and have live performances or just recording. And really great sight lines into the control room, into the ISO booths that are around the side. And there's also a piano ISO room with a sliding glass door that allows them to wheel the piano back into the big room if they want to. But yeah, they just did a phenomenal job with pulling off our design.
Yeah, just the aesthetic in there, like the clouds I love in there too. Like it's a cool space.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so now here's another view of that live room. You've got barrel diffusers up high in the room. We wanted to really take advantage of all that space and not make it so dead. Live rooms should have a little bit of air to them. So there's barrel diffusers. There's Flex 48s from Acoustical Fulfillment down low, so it can kind of change the way the room sounds on command. And then those custom ceiling clouds that were all built. Actually, this whole project, a lot of it was built by the employees of Mid-South Audio because this was being built during COVID, and they do a lot of like live sound, and that went away. And so they just transitioned those workers into building the studio, and they just did a great job.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. All right. So we've gone largest mixed room and largest live room. Now we're going to go with the smallest studio that we've ever worked on.
I'm excited to talk about this one.
All right. So I don't think I've ever really talked about it much, but we did Studio DMI, which is in Vegas, and that's owned by Luca Predalesi.
Yep.
And he's a top mixing engineer and mastering engineer. And he contacted me during COVID. He bought an RV. Right. And so this is the picture of the RV. So Luca Predalesi wins the smallest studio. He just had this back space of his RV that he wanted to turn into a place that he could mix while he was traveling around. Yeah. And so we took it from this, and then we have this photo of how it turned out, adding some ambience, some lighting in there. And obviously, it actually sounded really great in there, but there's challenges with the space that small, but he could get real work done, while he was traveling around and have a nice vibe to it as well, to where kind of went a long way from the wood grain into what it was when it was all finished.
Yeah. That's a really cool one.
All right, the fastest studio build. So studios always take longer than you expect they're going to take. There's a lot of coordination and construction and there's delays sometimes on getting materials, and but sometimes they just move very quickly.
Yep.
And that was the case for Tyler Joseph's Basement Studio.
Yep.
And Tyler Joseph, lead singer of 21 Pilots, he was on tour with their Blurry Face album for about 2.5 years, and he's like, man, I want my next album, I want to just be able to write and record it at home. So he didn't have to leave after being on tour for so long. And the thing is that Tyler and the record label, there's like, we want to get this done in 2.5 months. Like, and that's, it's something where it can be done. Obviously it did happen, but it is a little nerve wracking because you're just like, man, that's quick pace to build a room, because it was an unfinished basement, just and nothing to speak of, and then suddenly there's this room 2.5 months later. And I think I made about 10 trips to Columbus, Ohio during that time, just to check on progress and do different things. Triphase Technology did all the contracting and construction, and Simplified Acoustics did this stretch fabric system. But I'd get weekly updated photos, and then I would travel there a lot, and so it was. I can't say it was too stressful, because it was fun as well. Like,
Right.
it was fun to be a part of that project, but it moved pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, so the Slowest studio build. I almost feel bad even putting this on here, because like no one wants to win the award for the slowest studio build. However, one that's it's actually not even finished yet, but it will be finished before Christmas. It is Chance Cube Studios down near Louisville, Kentucky. And Robert Johnson is the owner of Chance Cube Studios. One of my favorite things is that you see these tall ceilings that we have in here, right? That's about little under 16 feet from floor to the finished ceiling in here. And this is his basement.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he built his house many years ago with the idea that he wanted to put a studio in his basement. And so he had them dig down and have a basement with it's like 16 and a half feet to the joists.
That's awesome.
From the concrete floor. And so this room, like I said, these aren't finished photos. This is just the construction is finished, but the interior acoustical treatment isn't done yet. But it's starting real soon, and it should be done by Christmas. This was actually the first trip that I traveled to after COVID had started. It was June 2020, when still things were up in the air and kind of strange. I drove down to Louisville, and we started measuring out his basement to kind of see what's going on. So June 2020 till Christmas of 2023, it wins the slowest studio build for us.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things that went on with, just slowdowns with the pandemic, and then, materials and contractor availability and all that stuff. But it's going to be an amazing space when it's done.
I was going to say, just looking at this photo even, I mean, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
That's
they
awesome.
they're doing a really great job with it. All right, the next one here, we sit in front of these maps all the time, and it's like we can see where our projects are located. So I thought it'd be fun to do one for which is the furthest away. What's the most stretch we've made as far as having a project there, and geographically. And Tone City Recording is the winner. And I'm going to show interior shots of Tone City. I just gave away an award. I realized that I just said I'm going to show interior pictures later for another award that they're going to win. But this is like a drone shot of the site. It's in Perth, Australia, and so Western Australia. And it's just a beautiful studio that has an Airbnb there as well. And Tone City Recording has its own record label. Sam Ford is the owner, and just a super fun project to work with them on that. And it is the one that's geographically the furthest from us.
Yeah.
So if we do the furthest, we also have to do which one is the closest.
Right.
And this next one's actually walkable.
Yep.
Like we can, we're in Carmel, Indiana, and our office is right along the Monon Trail. And the next project is about a maybe 5 to 10 minute walk right down the trail. And it is the Palladium. We were hired recently to help them assess the acoustical aspects of their auditorium there, and just a beautiful space. It was built, I can't remember how many years ago. I want to say 10 to 15, and somewhere in that range. And it was really designed for kind of classical music and orchestral music, but a lot of their programming these days is like rock acts that will come in. And in acoustics, what you do that's good for orchestral music isn't always great for live performance. And so what we're trying to do in this case, in this first round of testing, we're just really trying to assess how it's currently performing, and also to help them with their AV integrator, which is Force Tech. They're doing a new Acoustics speaker system in here, and they needed some data from us. And so we went and partnered with Matt Crowder at Immersaf, and he does 3D scanning of the room to be able to help us create our acoustical models of the space, because obviously it's a really ornate, just beautiful building, but to try to without good plans, it's hard to model a space like this. And so having that data was super helpful, and I'm really excited that early next year they'll have their new Acoustics rig installed. And just recently, I've lived in Carmel for 10 years and I've never been to a show at the Palladium, and just recently they gave us tickets to go see Lucinda Williams there, and that was a really fun show. And I'm just excited for the next chapter for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to be able to we literally walked down to it multiple times instead of having to get it in a car or on a plane like we often are.
It's going to be hard to beat that for Closest Project.
Yeah, we're going to really have to find something locally, like a restaurant that we can improve the acoustics of. All right, this next one is a project that had the most rooms. Usually we're involved in a project where it's just one single room, or it could be 2 to 3 rooms or 5 to 7 rooms. Yeah. This next one was 24 rooms, and that is the University of St. Francis. And really fun project. In fact, we recently filmed a studio tour, which will be coming out at some point in the future at the University of St. Francis, but they purchased the old Scottish Rite building in downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana, and just turned it into their music technology program building. And so we've got multiple control rooms. We have a mastering room, live rooms, ISO booths, practice rooms, ensemble rooms, classrooms. Like, we were involved with the whole thing from the jump. And we worked with Design Collaborative, an architect out of Fort Wayne that we've done a bunch of projects with, and worked closely with Sweetwater on this one as well, since they're in Fort Wayne, and it just turned out amazing. But it was a lot of work. 24 rooms. You got to really kind of break that down and tackle it. And at that time, it was 2017, so it was just me at that time. I think maybe Emily worked here for a little while during it, but it was a lot of work. But turned out amazing. All right. So now we're going to the People's Choice Awards, where
staff picks.
Yeah, you asked everybody on staff to pick their favorite project of ours, and obviously, favorite could be anything. It could be like the space that you would want to record in, or it could be just visually what you really like. But didn't really give them a lot of restraints of this. It was just like, hey, what's your favorite project of ours? Yeah. And so I'll go first, and mine is Crowder's studio. And for a lot of different reasons, I love the aesthetic in here. I don't think if I had my own studio at home that I would go with all white, because I have small kids and I'm sane. And it's not something that you would want to try to keep clean all the time.
Even without kids, I can't imagine trying to keep that clean.
It's tough, but every time I've visited, it looks just like this. It's amazing. But really, I just loved the whole project with everybody involved. We got to work with my good friend Biz Morris, who's head engineer at Reach Records, and he did all the gear integration and selection for this studio. And then he was already friends with Crowder before, and Crowder's just awesome. He's one of the best guys out there, as far as just real kind and generous, and just had a great vision for the space. And then his wife, Tony, is just an amazing interior designer. And so we act like interior designers a lot of times, because there's sometimes not an interior designer involved, but when there's one that's really great, it just takes it to another level. So I just love that space. We did a studio tour of Crowder's studio. We'll link it in the description below. But just, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
We should have recorded like little things for everybody on staff to explain why they loved it the most. But we'll go to Oscar's favorite, and Oscar's favorite is here in town in Indianapolis. It's 416 Wabash, which is located downtown Indianapolis, and it was it used to be a nightclub that lost its liquor license, and so therefore it's not a nightclub anymore. And then Chris Wodock, he is the owner, and he purchased the building, had a vision to create a studio, and then also make it a live music venue or an event space. Like people have wedding receptions there. Bands will come in and perform, but there's also this high quality studio in there, and just really, really fun how we worked on the design of this to where the control room is more wood centric. Like there's a lot of wood tones in there, and then the live room has more stone. You can see it through the window there. And we actually also filmed a studio tour there that will be coming out soon. And it's just a fun space, and it's also cool to do a studio here in Indianapolis. Like we work all over the world, but it's always cool to do something here at home. So
for sure.
All right, Alex's favorite. I can't even remember what it was. Alex's favorite, drum roll please, is Oak Hollow. Okay, so Oak Hollow, that was up on my list for myself as well. And at Lauren King's studio out in Oregon City, Oregon. We have a studio tour of this space as well, and we'll link that in the description. But this one almost would have been like the longest studio build award, but it was only 2 years. So Chance Cube beat it out by a year or so. But Oak Hollow was built by Lauren and his friends over the course of 2 years on their free time when they had it, but they're all professionals, so they didn't have a lot of free time. But now it's just this beautiful space that has a live room, a control room, and a vocal booth and a lounge area, and could really... if it was closer, I would love to do the next Rivet Shack album at this place. I have that goal. I don't know if I mentioned it on podcast before, but I'd love to like record one song on the next album, like one song in each studio that we've designed out there. Like that would be really awesome. Expensive, but also really fun. So this would be on the list for sure. All right, Tracy's favorite. She's always talked about Brooklyn Duo being her favorite studio. So we showed that one before. It was the largest mix room one that we showed earlier. And, I get it why Tracy loves this space. I mean, I love it too. But with her having her master's in architecture, like it's a very striking, really cool lines and just a really clean, modern looking space. Yeah. And with this being Tracy's favorite, we also have a studio tour of it on our YouTube channel. I don't know if the studio tours are influencing people's favorites. I could see why, because they're so well done. But Luke and More Than Media does an awesome job with it. But if you want to see more Brooklyn Duo Studio, you can check out our YouTube page and in the description below. All right, the next one is Juan's favorite. And Juan chose Josh Dunn's studio. Yeah. And that was also pretty high up on my list too, because that was a really fun project to be a part of. And Josh Dunn, it's called the Boom Boom Room. He's got the drum room, an ISO booth, and a control room. And so on the screen right here it shows the drum room, which is everyone always sees it and they're just like, wow, that's wild. It's a beautiful space with that artwork that's on there. On the level above this room, he's got a 25-foot ceilings with a muralist called Dabs Mila painted a mural up there, and then we just carry that image down into the studio through the floor. In fact, if you see the studio tour that we did, which we'll also link in the description, you can actually see at the very beginning of the video the kind of camera going through the floor and into the studio. And all that's printed on fabric. Like in the drum room there, it's a dye sublimation printing process. So there's at least 4 inches of acoustical treatment behind all of those flowers in there, and that's just like the skinning of it to make it look a certain way. The control room has just really fun LED lights to be able to change the mood, and then that ISO room has a fiber optic ceiling. This one as well was installed by Simplified Acoustics, and then Griffey Remodeling did the contracting work, which if you watch the video you'll see us sing Charlie's praises on this. He just did an excellent job. All right, now we're going to talk about Cam's favorite. And I also forget which one that he picked. Oh, no, yes. This is the one I gave away earlier. So Tone City Recording in Perth, Australia. That is Cam's favorite studio that we've done. Really kind of like a moody space. It's like a lot of dark woods. I love the fact that there's a triangular shaped window in the live room, and then in the control room, it's a circular window. You could have just put a square window or a rectangular window in there, but we wanted to have fun with the design and make it a little special. And then there's all these wood slats that are covering the bass trapping and the absorption to bring liveliness back to the room. And there's a picture there of Sam Ford, our awesome client, in there mixing. They just do some great work. I love following what they're doing. All right, so I saved this one for last because it kind of bookends things a little bit. We started off this award show talking about our TEC finalist, which is S.O.U.N.D Studio, and that happens to be your favorite. So I'm going to let you talk about it.
Yeah, so Chips has always been like, I guess since it finished, has always been one of my favorite studios. Like, just the location, the vibe inside. Like, if I were to ever own a studio, like, that's kind of what I would imagine it to kind of be like. And then I got to go to it a couple months ago and, like, actually experience it. And it sounds amazing. Like, just the vibe in there, I absolutely love that studio. So, so it is kind of cool that, like, I'm excited, like, almost on a personal level of the fact that Chips is the one that got nominated for the TEC Award.
Yeah, and I'm also, it's going to be so much fun because Chip is inviting his family out too, and we get to go to the banquet together, and just hanging out with Chip will be award enough for sure. Just being nominated for this. But yeah, it is one of those places where it's a cool destination. It's right on the water. You've got control room here. There's a drum booth, an amp room, and then you also have his dog. His dog is amazing, and is Charlie, golden retriever, and you actually see him in this picture, barely, right outside the door. Like you just see a little bit of him, but that's a good choice for your favorite one. So, all right, so that's the end of our awards show. I appreciate everybody indulging us with these awards, and make sure you come back next year for the second annual. And if you have a favorite studio of your own that we have done, comment below. We'd love to see what you guys think of our work and which ones resonate with you. And thank you for being part of the S.O.U.N.D Project, and we'll see you next week.